Luxury isn't what it used to be. The brands that dominated for decades are struggling to connect with the modern consumer, while the newcomers redefine what the very word luxury means. And no one has done this better than Porsche. In 2023, Porsche grew the revenue to over $41 billion. But what's impressive isn't how much money they're making, it's how they're making it. Porsche has completely redefined the principles of luxury marketing, and by the end of this video, you'll be able to steal their playbook for your own brand. To understand Porsche's genius, you need to understand their origin story. For decades, Porsche was purely about performance, and if you wanted the best driving experience possible, you would buy a Porsche, period. But around 2020, something changed. While every other automotive brand rushed to become a tech company, Porsche held back and did something different. Instead of abandoning their heritage as performance vehicles, they doubled down on it, but with a twist. They realized something that no other manufacturer did, which is not about being exclusive or accessible, it's about being both at the same time, which up until this point is something no other manufacturer had even attempted. But what's really impressive is how Porsche is growing. In 2023, customer deliveries rose by 3.3%, with a return on sales holding at a steady 18%, even during global supply chain interruptions and high inflation. But this isn't just about selling cars, it's about selling them differently. So this is the Porsche playbook. While most brands just pick partners, Porsche creates strategic cultural moments. Take, for example, their partnership with ALD. This wasn't just a collaboration with a fashion brand. This was a fusion of heritage with modern culture, with a brand that's often regarded as progressive yet refined. When ALD restored the classic 911 Carrera, they weren't just refurbishing a car. What they were doing is narrating story about craftsmanship and timeless design. This resonated with additional Porsche enthusiasts while also opening up a new segment of the luxury market that values authenticity over flash. And what makes these collaborations so effective is just how selective Porsche is. Porsche isn't doing dozens or even hundreds of partnerships, but what they lack for in volume, they make up for in incredible market positioning and brand strategy. The art of scarcity. Now, Porsche has engineered something that I would call accessible exclusivity through the way that they release their limited editions. At the highest level, Porsche has their special request program, otherwise known as Sonderwunsch. It's an ultimate customization experience where clients can design one-of-a-kind vehicles. This ultra-exclusive product offering often costs hundreds of thousands of dollars over the base price, but that's exactly the point. In offering this, Porsche retains only their highest value customers. But for the mid-market, Porsche plays a clever trick. Instead of creating limited edition models that are open to the public, they create just enough for the public to see, but have limited access to. And that access trickles down from manufacturing through the dealers, which then give out allocations based on their customer base. Similar to Rolex, what this does is keep the mid-market customers around just long enough to hope that they get an allocation someday. But before you get an allocation, in the meantime, you can purchase a base model. By offering base models like any other car manufacturer, Porsche is giving the mid to low market consumers just enough of a taste of Porsche's true performance in order to get them to start dreaming about elevating. This creates a ladder of exclusivity that customers can climb and keeps them looking forward to something. Maybe you start with a base level Macan, but you're already dreaming about getting that 911 Targa. Well, you'll have to stick around and keep purchasing Porsches, which is aspirational marketing at its finest. While your favorite celebrity is selling their soul to any brand that will bankroll them, Porsche, again, chose a different route. Instead of chasing celebrities with the biggest followings, Porsche is strategically partnering with certain celebrities who have a narrative that backs their actual partnership with the brand. For example, Porsche partnered with Orlando Bloom based on his story of owning Porsches for over 30 years, even though he's not necessarily the first celebrity name that would come to your mind. He's just enough followers to get Porsche's name to expand outside of their traditional customer base, but not make it obvious enough where some people even know that it's an ad. Mixing these high-profile partnerships with authentic content from real Porsche enthusiasts creates a more dynamic and believable brand from the audience's perspective. Now that you know Porsche's playbook, it's time to steal it. And the heist consists of 5 main acts. And Act 1 is redefining your brand's heritage. Heritage is not just about your brand's history. It's about defining what makes you authentically different. To figure this out quickly, ask yourself, what principles has your brand never made a compromise on? What stories do your most loyal customers tell you? And what aspects of your brand would resonate across generations given that you're around for hundreds of years? By asking yourself questions like these, you'll be able to evolve your brand while maintaining your core values, similar to what Porsche's done. Act 2 is mastering tiered exclusivity. Creating different tiers of exclusivity does not mean having cheap or expensive options. In the case of Porsche, if you went up to anyone and asked them if they think Porsche is cheap or expensive, everyone would tell you expensive. But the reality is Porsche has models of their cars that are more affordable, less affordable, more accessible, and more exclusive. And in the case of Porsche, it means creating limited edition products without downselling your customers. You can implement the same strategy into your business while also offering more exclusive services or products to your customers without upselling them. Obviously, you aren't selling Porsches, so your model may look completely different regarding whether you run a product, service, or subscription business. But the concept remains the same across all business models. Act 3 is the strategic partnership framework. You don't have to be a multi-million-dollar corporation to build out your strategic partner network. In fact, there are already thousands of influencers and content creators that would be willing to partner with your brand, and at that be ecstatic to partner with your brand for not as much money as you think it may cost. Based on my experience with all of the agencies I've worked with, here are the key things that you can use to identify who and where those partners may be. First, you need to find your audience gaps. What demographics and psychographics are you not reaching that you would like to be selling to? Then go on Instagram and identify brands that already authentically reach those audiences. Simply go to those accounts, go into their followers and following, and filter by the largest influencers and content creators that you can find and feasibly partner with. Once you find them, go to their profile and do some content research on what they're posting to see if their narrative could fit what you're trying to push with your brand. And most of them have DMs open or even have emails for business inquiries for things like this, where you want to partner with them and pay them money for their partnership. By spreading your exposure across a network of accounts with a narrative-driven approach, your brand will have a higher probability of breaking through the perceived threshold most people would consider to be what's called an. The most important part is retaining that narrative-driven story, just like Porsche did with their influencer partnerships. Act 4 is developing a content ecosystem. Once you've defined both the history and future of your brand, refined your product offerings, and established advertising partners, you need to create ammo to distribute for your brand, and that ammo is going to be content. Now, within content, there's a sort of matrix that you can refer to choose the type of content that will work for you best. Put simply, there's generally high-end and low-end production, and within those two buckets, there's UGC, there's commercials, there's ads. I'm not going to go into depth on every one, but do your own research and just know that there's a bunch of options that you can choose from depending on the way that you want to position your brand. And Act 5 is the long game. The most important thing to understand is this is not a short-term strategy. Porsche was founded in 1931 and has been evolving their brand ever since. What will get you across the finish line are 4 main things. You need to keep your messaging consistent across all channels. You need to build genuine relationships within your brand's community. You need to invest in quality over quantity. And you need to be patient with your results while measuring your progress. And of course, there's many ways to build a brand. Like, you could prioritize quantity over quality, which does work for some brands. But if you're trying to create a refined brand like Porsche, that approach simply is not going to work for you. And remember, luxury is not about being expensive or exclusive. It's about being desired by the masses. By following these principles in Porsche's playbook, you can build a brand that's both aspirational and authentic. By the way, if you found this breakdown valuable, please hit the subscribe button because that obviously helps get this video out to more people. And I'll see you in the next one.